Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. And last night's Smackdown was from the Mohegan Sun Arena at Casey Plaza in Wilkes-Barre Township, Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. And doing the Smackdown review today on a Wednesday, because last night I was out, so I recorded Smackdown and watched it last night when I came home. And of course, this was SmackDown's go home show for FastLane, which is this Sunday. And I gotta say, SmackDown last night, I thought it was a decent show. I have to say, SmackDown did a decent job with their go home show for FastLane. We had some hype for the pay-per-view. And let's get started with the review. So the show opened up last night with Daniel Bryan and Rowan coming out. They both got in the ring. Daniel Bryan then shows a video package of the contract signing, which happened last week. Which it was supposed to be Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston at FastLane for the WWE Championship. And it shows how, Vince McMahon came out. He replaced Kofi Kingston with Kevin Owens. So we had that video package, or that video recap from last week. And after it was over, Daniel Bryan got on the mic and he ends up saying, last week he sat in the ring and remained silent as the crowd cheered for Kofi. And he says he was still silent when Vince McMahon replaced Kofi Kingston with Kevin Owens in the WWE Championship match at Fastlane. And yes, Daniel Bryan, if you remember last week, he was silent throughout that whole contract sign-in while the crowd was just cheering for Kofi Kingston. And Daniel says it is his turn to speak and for the crowd to remain silent. And so Rowan ends up getting on the mic. He tells the crowd to shut up and for them to open their ears because Daniel Bryan is going to enlighten us all. And when he says that, the crowd was still cheering for Kofi, was still cheering for Kofi Kingston. And Daniel Bryan says he's not out to talk about Kofi Kingston. And he says Kofi is not a leader and that he is just a supporting player. And that's where, Kofi should be with the New Day. And Kofi Kingston and the New Day were not at SmackDown last night because they were on a promotional tour in India. And Daniel Bryan says that Vince was right to replace Kofi, but he can't say if Vince was right to replace the man who throws pancakes with the man who eats a whole amount of pancakes. And he goes on to say that Kevin Owens is just like all of us. He looks like us. He thinks like us. And Daniel Bryan goes on to say that Kevin Owens doesn't deserve a shot at the WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan says Kevin Owens is a nobody, and that what makes him dangerous. He says he has everything to lose because he is the planet's champion. So Daniel Bryan goes on to say that he has the pressure of knowing if he loses, the planet loses. And so that brings out Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens says to Daniel Bryan that for 5 months when he was injured, he and his family watched every Raw and SmackDown from his couch. And Daniel retaliates to that and says, oh, the couch isn't exactly where you belong. And so Kevin Owens says when he was at home, it was great. And it was very hard. It was great because he was spending it he's spending time with his family. But he also says that it was very hard to watch other people do what, he loves. Do what, he does. Do what he does. He says, except for when Daniel Bryan was out. And he says it was awful. It was awful watching Daniel Bryan come out like a maniac, talking down to everyone, and acting like, Daniel Bryan is above everyone. And Kevin Owens says he can't stand, people who think they are better than everyone else. Kevin Owens says he saw Daniel Bryan throw the WWE Championship in the trash, which Daniel Bryan retaliates and says, "Oh, exactly where it belongs." And Kevin Owens tells Daniel Bryan when he did that, that was the last straw. And when he wanted to come back, he knew who he wanted to go after. And he says he speaks for his family and the WWE Universe that Daniel Bryan deserves his mouth shut. And he's going to do it. So Daniel Bryan says it's not his mouth Kevin Owens should be worried about. And he says he's providing wisdom, not calendars. And Daniel Bryan calls the crowd lowbrows like Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens was like, you know what? I may be like these people. I may be like the people. He goes on to say that unlike these people, I don't have a reality show, retaliating to Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan has Total Bellas. And Kevin Owens also tells Daniel Bryan that he doesn't have a 7-foot-tall back dancer, which he's talking about Rowan. And Daniel Bryan says the reason Kevin Owens doesn't have a 7-footer with him is because Kevin Owens doesn't have any friends. And Kevin Owens says to Daniel Bryan that he used to have friends and backup. And he lost them all because it was his fault. And Kevin Owens ends up saying that he never meant to take Kofi Kingston's opportunity. And he says at FastLane he's going to beat Daniel Bryan and take the WWE Championship from him. And then we see Rowan and Kevin Owens face to face. Owens starts throwing punches at Rowan. Rowan shoves Kevin Owens. And Rowan then tries to go to clothesline Kevin Owens out of the ring. But Owens ends up pulling down on the ropes, leading to Rowan going over them. And then we just see Daniel Bryan goes after Kevin Owens, starts throwing punches. Owens ends up firing back. Kevin Owens also attempts to hit the stunner on Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan ended up reversing it, leading to Rowan Rowan took his palm to Kevin Owens' face, like he went like that, and then he just slammed Kevin Owens to the canvas. And that's basically how the segment ended. And we see Daniel Bryan holding up the championship. And that's how the segment ended. But it was a decent opening to SmackDown with Daniel Bryan and Rowan and Kevin Owens coming out. But yeah, so it was a decent opening. And then after that, we had The Miz versus Jey Uso. Before the match even started, the Usos ended up coming out. Jey Uso was on the mic. He says that at Elimination Chamber, they both became 6-time SmackDown Tag Team Champions. He goes on to say that they both are in the fast lane on the road to WrestleMania. And it's going to be them versus Shane and Miz at FastLane. Jey says Jey says he doesn't, he doesn't think if he could take them anymore. If he could take them anymore of the whole bromance between Shane and Miz. And Jey ends up saying that he's sick of Shane running around saying he's going to jump off things. So we had both of them, both the Usos say at FastLane, Shane and Miz are going to be welcomed into the Uso Penitentiary. And so out came Shane McMahon and The Miz. Shane came out first, and then The Miz. Shane says, Shane ends up saying to the crowd, how are you all tonight? And Shane says the Usos are out making fun of them because they both Shane and Miz have passion, emotion, and hearts on their sleeve. Because all of those make them the best tag team in the world. And he says on Sunday, they are going to be saying, who's laughing last? And so The Miz says to Jey that if Jey loses focus, he will exploit and beat him. And that Shane and him have a second chance at FastLane in his hometown. And yes, FastLane is going to be in The Miz's hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. And he already said, he's going to make his father and Shane proud. And they will lock down the SmackDown tag team titles. And it will be awesome. And then the Usos come after the both of them. Both Shane and Miz reverse that. And then we saw both Shane and Miz clothesline both the Usos out of the ring. They went over the top rope. And that's how that ended. And then the match got underway. The Miz versus Jey Uso. And the match itself, it was okay. It was back and forth between them. You had at one point in the match where Jey Uso was going for the pin. Jimmy ended up getting on the apron and putting his feet, both of his feet, so Jey could get the win. And the ref ended up seeing it, and then Shane jumped on top of the ring step and just clothesline Jimmy on the outside. And that distracted Jey, which led to The Miz hitting skull-crushing finale on Jey Uso. So The Miz ended up winning the match. All in all, it was an okay match. Then after that we had Kayla Braxton. She was interviewing Charlotte. Charlotte says, is it just her or is SmackDown missing Becky Lynch? Charlotte goes on to say that she missed Becky hobbling around on a crutch or suffering from the beating Ronda gave her on Raw at the end of Raw. So Charlotte says that she is inviting Becky to SmackDown. She says she wants to know if Becky is man enough to come tonight and talk to her about physical and mental capabilities. And that, Charlotte just wants to have a friendly discussion. And she goes, the whole woo. So that was the interview with Charlotte. Then we had the United States Championship Open Challenge. R-Truth was issuing another Open Challenge. So R-Truth and Carmella come out. SmackDown went to commercial while R-Truth was making his entrance. So then when it came back, both R-Truth and Carmella were in the ring. And Truth goes on to say that what he said when he issued the first Open Challenge. Like he was saying how he wants to be like John Cena. And he was saying he didn't realize John Cena issued a US Open Challenge every single week. And R-Truth says he did it once and is already tired. I mean, already he wants to give up, doing the U.S. Open Challenge. And so Carmella says to him that John Cena says you can never give up. Truth says he sees Cena all the time on the poster that he has of him on his bedroom wall, on his bed sheets, and how he saw Cena in Bumblebee, which Truth makes a reference to that. And Carmella ends up telling Truth he has to be brave after a 7-second dance break, which they do. They do the 7-second dance break. And then lo and behold, Lacey Evans, Wavy Evans, comes out. Going like that down the ramp, of course, with everything, what she's doing. And then she walks up the ramp. Yeah, that was Wavy Evans. And then R-Truth tells Lacey or Wavy Evans to come back, to come back out, and that she don't want none. And Carmella ends up saying, oh, that doesn't count. And that the WWE Universe wants to see him defend the United States Championship. And so Truth ends up going, damn you, John Cena! Which was hilarious. Gotta love R-Truth. And then Samoa Joe comes out. And I'm like, oh wow, this is going to get interesting. And when Samoa Joe's music hit, you can see the paranoid, scared face on R-Truth. And then Rey Mysterio ended up coming out. I'm like, all right. And then we had Andrade Cien Almas. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna get better. And so then the Open Challenge turned into a Fatal 4-Way. Sorry about that, but I was saying the Open Challenge turned into a Fatal 4-Way. So we had a Fatal 4-Way match for the United States Championship. Samoa Joe versus R-Truth versus Rey Mysterio versus Andrade Cien Almas. And this was a good match. This was the best match of the night. This was a very entertaining match. Really liked Rey Mysterio and Andrade Cien Almas in the match. Samoa Joe did really good. You had at one point where Samoa Joe leapt from he went out of the middle rope and he took out Andrade on the outside. That was very good move. And yeah, at one point in the match where Joe had Truth in the Coquina Clutch, and then from out of nowhere, Rey Mysterio just hits the 619 on Joe. Joe, went back, flat back. And then on the outside, you had R-Truth, and there was Rey Mysterio was outside, and they were going at it on the outside. And we see Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega ended up hitting a Hurricanrana to Truth on the outside. And then that led to Carmella end up super kicking Zelina Vega on the outside. But at the end, Samoa Joe ended up hitting a Uranagi to Andrade Cien Almas. He hit it, he went for the pin, and there you go. Samoa Joe is the new United States champion. And I'm like, finally, for 2 years that Samoa Joe has been on the main roster, finally WWE does something right. They finally give him a title to hold on the main roster. They finally make him win a championship. Gotta give props to that, because it's been a while. It's been a while since Joe has been up on the main roster, and finally they give him a championship. So I'm really happy for Samoa Joe. Like that, everybody in the YWC online are like, oh, when are they going to put a title on Samoa Joe? When are they going to put a title on him? It happened last night, and I'm really glad. Joe deserves it. After the 2 years that he's been on the main roster. So, but all in all, this Fatal 4-Way match, was a good match. It was very enjoyable and the best match of the night. And so after that, after the Fatal 4-Way, we saw a Handicam promo from the New Day, showing them on their promotional tour in India. And they were saying how they'll be at FastLane. We had that. And then we had Kayla Braxton interviewing Samoa Joe backstage. Samoa Joe says, folks who thought he couldn't win the big one were just praying unanswered prayers. And sorry about that again, but Samoa Joe goes on to say that now that he has gold, he won't pander to the masses, and he sure as hell doesn't love John Cena. And all his opponents will get is disrespect. So Joe goes on to say that all the superstars lying awake at night having nightmares about getting in the ring with him, he'll be along soon enough to make them go night night. Decent interview with Samoa Joe. Like I said, really happy that they put a championship around him, finally. And so then we had Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Cesaro and Sheamus. Before the match started, Sheamus was on the mic. He was talking about how they want to wish Aleister and Ricochet the best of luck in their title match on Sunday. And he goes on to say, but like the Raw Tag Team division, Aleister and Ricochet don't measure up to the Bar. And so the match got underway, which the match itself, it was enjoyable. It was a decent match. Aleister Black and Ricochet, highly entertaining as a tag team. And they're going to be in the Dusty Rhodes Classic on NXT, which starts tonight, which I'm really looking forward to. And Aleister Black and Ricochet, they end up winning the match. Ricochet ends up hitting the 630 on Cesaro to score the win. So Aleister Black and Ricochet win the match. So all in all, it was a decent match. And then you had, after the match, Rusev and Nakamura. They ended up coming out. They ended up taking down Aleister and Ricochet. Cesaro and Sheamus end up coming to join Rusev and Nakamura and taking down Black and Ricochet. But the Hardy Boys end up coming out. We see Matt Hardy clotheslines Cesaro on the ramp, which was cool. They both enter the ring. They end up throwing out Nakamura. Nakamura goes outside onto the floor. And Jeff Hardy ends up hitting a twist of fate to Rusev. Rusev ends up going flying, which was funny. And also Matt Hardy then ended up hitting his twist of fate to Rusev. So Rusev ended up receiving 2 twists of fates. And so Jeff goes to hit Poetry in Motion, but he ends up getting caught by Cesaro and Sheamus. And it looked like he ended up taking down only Nakamura. And Ricochet ends up taking down Cesaro and Sheamus and Nakamura. He ends up doing a flip over the top rope, because we saw Matt Hardy and Aleister were holding down the ropes, and that's when Ricochet did that, and it was a very impressive, flip to the outside to take out the Bar and Nakamura. Really like that move from Ricochet. So that was what happened after the match. So, but all in all, like I said, Aleister, Ricochet versus the Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus. Decent match. Then we had Mandy Rose versus Naomi. This was a nothing match. This was a short match. Mandy Rose ended up getting the win. So nothing great happened in the match. Then we had after the match, we saw Asuka come out. Asuka goes after Mandy Rose, and we see she ends up throwing both Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose into the LED boards. And so pretty much that was basically that. They were both taken down. Mandy Rose was laid out. So yeah, but all in all, Mandy Rose versus Naomi. It was a short match. It was nothing. Then we had Kayla Braxton. She was interviewing AJ Styles on how he would have handled the Kevin Owens situation, as what Kayla Braxton asked him. So Styles says the WWE Championship opportunities don't grow on trees. You take the opportunities when you get them. He goes on to say that there is no love lost between him and Kevin Owens. And Styles says what happened with Kofi Kingston last week was a mistake. And he says that he wouldn't want to be in both of their positions. He says Kevin Owens is a lose-lose situation and Kofi being robbed. He goes on to say that McMahon said they were going to listen to the WWE Universe. He even mentions that. Yeah, they said they were going to listen. And what are we getting? We're still getting the same match. We're still getting the same shit that we see on Monday Night Raw. The same, matches every single week. Rinse and repeat. Yeah, what is that? Is WWE trying to make us forget that the McMahons said that? That, oh, this is a new era. Yeah, this is a new era, people. But yet, they said, oh, we're going to get fresh new matches, fresh new faces. And what are we seeing? The same damn matches every single week. Well, on Monday Night Raw, we see that. And so, yeah, WWE wants to make us forget that the McMahons said that they were going to listen to the WWE Universe. And so Styles ended up saying that, and he says, "Oh, why are they not listening to the WWE Universe? Because they are screaming for Kofi Kingston." And he says that this should be Kofi's moment to become WWE champion. And so Randy Orton appears. He comes and says to Styles that anyone other than him deserves a title opportunity. And Orton says to Styles, "Oh, I could see why it took you 15 years to get here." And so Randy Orton then just walks off. But it was a enjoyable interview with AJ Styles. Then we had Kevin Owens versus Rowan. This match didn't go anywhere. We had Daniel Bryan doing commentary. And Daniel Bryan was talking crap to Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens was on the outside. And Kevin Owens went for Daniel Bryan. And Rowan ended up pulling Kevin Owens off of Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan just retaliated and punched. Kevin Owens was throwing punches to Kevin Owens on the outside, which led for the match to be a disqualification. So Kevin Owens wins the match by DQ. And after the match, Rowan ended up slamming Kevin Owens onto the floor. And we just hear Daniel Bryan tell Rowan to take the table off of the announce table. And then we see a surprise. Mustafa Ali ends up returning. Makes his return since he was out with an injury. He ends up taking down Daniel Bryan. And Mustafa Ali tries to take out Rowan. Rowan ends up catching Ali, like what he did to Kevin Owens earlier, with the palm and in the face to try to slam him. But Mustafa reverses it. He is on the announce table. He goes on top of the announce table, kicks Rowan, and he ends up driving Rowan into the ring post. Daniel Bryan then ends up hitting a flying knee to Mustafa's face from the ring apron. And Kevin Owens ends up coming in, and he ends up hitting the stunner on Daniel Bryan. And that's how it ended. So little hypeness for Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan for Sunday at FastLane. Kevin Owens versus Rowan, match didn't go really nowhere. So, and then we had Charlotte coming out, and then she ends up going into the ring, and she then shows what happened on Raw when Ronda ended up beating down on Becky, putting Becky in the armbar a whole lot of times. We had that. And after it was over, Charlotte says, let's see how she can get the man, Becky, to come out and have a friendly discussion. And she says she knows how to get Becky out. And that's for the crowd to cheer her name. And so Charlotte's like, Becky, Becky, and then the crowd starts going along. And so we have Becky Lynch come out. Becky says, it's good to be back. Becky ends up saying to Charlotte, that's the sound you hear when the man comes around. And she says she wants to know about her well-being. Well, she goes on to say that she'd be lying if she said she wasn't hurt. As this is what Becky's saying. And Becky says, that's okay. If it's the price to stay inside Charlotte's head. And Becky says, oh, I'm in your head. And she ends up saying that Ronda, or Ronnie as Becky would say, she's also in Ronnie's weird little head too. And she says Ronda can't make up her mind, won the match 1 minute, and doing her best to avoid it the next. It says last night she hit her with her best. Ronda hit Becky with her best. But, Becky goes on to say that, she's still standing. And she's still ready to fight again. She ends up saying Charlotte knows she's owned her for months. And beat her on one good leg. And Becky says, yes, her ribs may be bruised, her arm nearly broken, and her knee damaged. But people are the most dangerous. People are the most dangerous, and that they have nothing to lose. That she has nothing left to lose. You see. And then we see Charlotte kicks the crutch from under Becky, knocks down Becky, slams her head first into the canvas. She ends up whipping Becky. Charlotte ends up whipping Becky with her jacket. You see Charlotte just drags her around, and Charlotte goes after the injured knee. Charlotte ends up poking Becky with her crotch. Her crutch. Oh man. Yeah, poke her with her crotch. With her crutch. Oh man, I'm talking so much. I'm messing up. Saying all this. It's a lot of notes, people. But yeah, so Charlotte was poking Becky with her crutch, and Charlotte drags Becky into the middle of the ring, but the man has her crutch, and she ends up turning her around. She ends up locking in the disarmer on Charlotte. The referees end up hitting the ring to pull her off. Becky refuses to let go. She ends up dragging Charlotte until Charlotte finally retreats and gets away. Then we hear Becky saying, "Oh," to Charlotte, "I'll see you at FastLane." So of course, going to be at FastLane, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship on Sunday at FastLane. So, and pretty much that's how SmackDown ended. But like I said, SmackDown was a decent show. It was much better than Raw. They did a decent job with their go home show for FastLane. So yeah. So anyways, that's it for my review of last night's SmackDown. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, I'll see you all later. Bye.